I've had a few people ask me about the name of my business, FireForge, and then also the logo, and what the meaning is behind that. So no, I'm not in the firefighting business. I'm not a fire safety officer. The story behind the name is actually, in my opinion, a lot more interesting. So I thought, you know what, let me share the story just so you all know where it comes from. So the inspiration behind the name of my company actually comes from my father. So I'm going to tell you his story in very, very broad terms, just very quickly, just to give you that kind of a context. So my father grew up very poor here in South Africa. He after I think he left school, if I remember correctly, probably about a year or two early before the formal completion of school, didn't know what to do with his life. He joined the police force, realized that being a police officer wasn't for him for a number of reasons that I don't want to get into now, and then became a security guard. So he actually worked as a security guard at a very well-known steel company or steel industry here in South Africa, signing visitors in and checking visitors out at the gates of the factory. And over time, he was approached to see if he would like to become a safety officer. And that is the connect to safety, I guess, and fire safety. Um, and he then went on a course. He became a safety officer within the factory and eventually a supervisor and then a junior manager and climbed the ranks until he eventually became the head of safety for the entire business. Um, but I think the important thing around the story is that he came from nothing. He came from this absolute impoverished kind of upbringing, limited, if any, opportunities for his own personal growth and development. But once he got the opportunity, once he got into an organization, he really took that opportunity with both hands, climbed the ranks, and did course after course, improved his skills, never had a formal degree. But he did eventually do a management development program through one of the big universities here in South Africa. And he did so well on that management development program that he actually became one of the assessors. So all the assignments that people would do throughout the whole of South Africa would be put in this big brown envelope and posted off to my dad, where we lived in Newcastle, a small little town. And he would actually mark all these assignments and provide commentary and send it back. And that started to give me a sense that, sure, there was a lot more to this man than what we see on the surface. But beyond that, my dad was a wealth of wisdom. He had the most amazing sayings and quips and also deep insights, almost philosophical insights. And I just want to share one with you very, very quickly. One of my dad's favorite sayings was, "You should never spoil a good argument with the facts." And you might kind of frown at that and say, "What are you talking about?" But his thinking was that sometimes the whole process of having a debate, a discussion, an argument, and having opposing viewpoints helps us with our critical thinking. It helps us with being more open-minded to different scenarios. And I remember as a youngster and when I was at university, how frustrated I got with my father when we were having these debates and he just wouldn't see my point of view. Quite honestly, I think a lot of times he saw my point of view a long time ago, but as he said, don't spoil a good argument with the facts. Let's keep the argument going because therein lies the learning. So with all of that, my father, I think, became a symbol for me of resilience, a symbol of somebody that through adversity managed to achieve great things. And that's where the name comes from. Oh, and then by the way, I almost forgot the most important part. My father's nickname was actually Fires. It comes from our surname, Van Vieren, which directly translated means from fire. So my dad had the nickname Fires, and putting all of that together, one day I came up with an inspiration to say, isn't this what leadership is all about? Isn't it about what we achieve despite adversity? Isn't it about how we get forged in the fire of adversity, of difficulties, of challenges, and how we start to grow and develop out of that? So my whole coaching practice is kind of based on that principle. How do we help each other to grow despite the challenges and actually use those challenges as opportunities for learning and growth to strengthen our position and our contribution as leaders. So there you go. There's a very quick story behind the logo and why the company is called FireForge.